ADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and bonjour. Good afternoon and welcome to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM in Dakar and around the world at wadr.org for startup stories. Senegal's National Assembly ratifies 6 draft resolutions to investigate suspected irregularities in public management. Nigeria's President Tinubu orders 5-year security threat assessment plan amid persistent insecurity.
The essence of this is to look at our national threat to ensure that the security of lives and property for Nigerians is further guaranteed.
Ghana Education Service probes alleged sexual assault of students with special needs, warns against exploitation. Guinea's High Judicial Council removes Supreme Court Advocate General over alleged breaches of professional duties. Please stay tuned for the details of these stories and more.
On the news, this is Veronique Joy.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. We begin in Nigeria, where President Bola Tinubu has ordered the immediate preparation of a comprehensive national threat assessment and a rolling 5-year strategic defense operation plan. The directive aims to strengthen coordination among Nigeria's defense, intelligence and security agencies while ensuring that resources and operational capabilities are aligned with the country's most pressing security challenges. This mandate, taken at the Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja, directs the 11-member committee to complete the documents within 90 days. Usman Umar reports from Abuja.
The committee will be coordinated by the President's Special Advisor on Homeland Security, Major General Adeyinka Famadewa. Its members include National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, Defense Minister Christopher Musa, Minister of State for Defense Bello Matawale, and the nation's service chiefs. The heads of the Department of State Services and National Intelligence Agency are also members. President Tinubu says the National Threat Assessment will identify and rank the major threats facing Nigeria, while the 5-year defense plan will translate those threats into operational priorities. This will include identifying the forces and capabilities required in different theaters, equipment and support gaps, with a clear implementation timetable. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris emphasized the President's mandate.
Of course, the essence of this is to look at our overall national threat assessment. We'll also look at the principal framework for the establishment of military and defense cooperation for Nigeria. Now, this is all part of the robust plan that Mr. President has to ensure that the security of lives and property for Nigerians is further guaranteed.
In the directive, President Tinubu cited the recent rescue of abducted pupils and teachers in Oyo State as evidence of what improved coordination and intelligence sharing can achieve. Once approved, the plan will serve as the framework for coordinating military and defense operations and guide multi-layer defense spending and procurement. The President has directed the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and the Office of the National Security Advisor to ensure immediate implementation of the directive. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Now here in Senegal, the National Assembly has unanimously ratified 6 draft resolutions establishing parliamentary commissions of inquiry to investigate suspected irregularities in several areas of public management. They include parliamentary commissions of inquiry into land management, state-owned built heritage, certain financial mechanisms, public procurement, tax exemptions, and fishing licensing. Parliament members present in Thursday's session voted on the resolutions with 129 votes in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions. Augustine Coley tells us more.
The first commission will examine land management, including subdivision operations and the management of public land, particularly in Dakar. It will also investigate possible violations involving the finance, urban planning, and environmental authorities. The second commission will look into the sale of state-owned buildings to private individuals amid allegations that some transactions may have been carried out under irregular conditions. Additionally, the third will investigate the government's use of total return swaps, also known as TRS, and assess their costs, risks, and possible impact on public debt. It will also determine whether state assets or revenues from natural resources were used as collateral. According to the votes, the fourth commission will examine the awarding and implementation of contracts under the One Student, One Computer program. This program involves commitments of around 48 billion CFA francs since 2017, with an estimated annual budget of 6 billion CFA francs. Meanwhile, the Fifth Commission aims to investigate tax exemptions and revenue waivers since January 2014, including tax reductions, debt write-offs, and other tax arrangements, and assess whether they comply with Senegal's tax laws. Lastly, the Sixth Commission will examine the issuance and renewal of industrial fishing licenses since the current Maritime Fisheries Code came into force, including licenses granted under agreements with foreign countries. Under the National Assembly's rules, each commission will have 11 deputies appointed proportionally according to the parliamentary groups, while also taking non-affiliated lawmakers into account.
That was Augustine Colley with that report. Meanwhile, the Senegalese government has thrown its full support behind ICC Deputy Prosecutor Abdoulaye Sy after the United States imposed financial sanctions and a visa ban on him. Following a cabinet meeting on Thursday, Dakar condemned the measures as an attack on judicial independence and the right of ICC magistrates to carry out their duties without pressure. Christopher Aticho completes the story.
The U.S. sanctions imposed by the Trump administration also target ICC President Tomoko Akane over the court investigation involving nationals of non-member states, including the United States and Israel. Senegal says independent judicial action at the international court must be free from political pressure, reaffirming its commitment to multilateralism and international law. With Say and fellow Senegalese ICC magistrate Mam Manjanya now targeted by Washington, Dakar is calling for dialogue and mutual respect. The government says it will work with African and international partners to protect the ICC's independence, integrity, and ability to operate effectively. The ICC has also condemned the sanctions, warning that they undermine the rule of law and threaten the court's work. A day earlier, European leaders had likewise expressed concern over the U.S. measures targeting senior ICC officials, including President Tomoko Akane, with the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen saying the bloc stands firmly behind the court. She insists that its judges and officials must be able to work independently and without external pressure. As a reminder, this is not the first time the U.S. has sanctioned officials of the Hague institutions. Gambian lawyer and former ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda was sanctioned by Washington over the court investigation into alleged war crimes involving U.S. forces in Afghanistan.
That was Christopher Aticho with that report.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
In Guinea, Al-Gassimu Jallo, a key prosecutor in the trial over the 2009 September 28 massacre, has been dismissed from the judiciary following disciplinary proceedings. The Supreme Court Advocate General was suspended earlier this week with authorities citing breaches of his statutory obligations. The High Court of the Judiciary has now upheld his dismissal, although the specific misconduct has not been publicly detailed. Imo Edit reports.
Al-Gazimu Jallo's dismissal comes just 2 days after Justice Minister Ibrahim Asori Tunkara suspended him and referred his case to the High Council of the Judiciary. Meeting in a closed disciplinary session, the council found the allegations against Jallo established, describing them as serious breaches of the duties, honor, and dignity of his office. However, the council did not publicly specify the conduct that led to his dismissal. Jallo is best known for his role as prosecutor in the trial of the September 28, 2009 massacre, where he led the prosecution of former junta leader Musa Dadis Camara and other senior officials. He was appointed Advocate General at the Supreme Court after serving as prosecutor at the Dixon Court and later heading the Public Prosecutor's Office at the Kankan Court of Appeal. Justice Minister Tunkara has since said that audio exchanges between Jallow and opposition leader Selu Jalin Jallow were among the issues being considered in the disciplinary case, which authorities viewed as incompatible with his professional obligations. A travel ban has also reportedly been imposed on the former magistrate. The dismissal now brings an end to Jallow's career as a magistrate, while the authorities have ordered the publication of the disciplinary decision.
That was Imo Ethid. The Ghana Education Service is warning teachers and other school personnel against exploiting students' vulnerability. This follows the arrest and interdiction of 2 security men at Bolgatanga Girls Senior High School over alleged sexual assault of a student with special needs. The incident is among at least 3 reported cases of sexual assault in senior high schools this year, with some teachers also implicated in alleged sexual misconduct, raising fresh concerns over the safety and protection of students in schools. Elik Plimawuku reports.
According to preliminary reports, the student, who is also on medication, suffered a relapse and required medical attention around the time of the alleged incident. The Ghana Education Service says investigations are ongoing and the outcome will determine the sanctions to be applied under the GES Code of Conduct and the laws of Ghana. It promises not to shield anyone who violates students' rights and safety.
Our first resort was to engage the police and hand over these 2 to them. We have also interdicted them. It's extremely unfortunate. We would also send out this message to our teachers that we expect the highest level of professionalism beyond just teaching and even the non-teaching staff who are on the school campuses providing all forms of services.
However, former Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Charles Ahetuchega, says the incident exposes weaknesses in the security systems within some senior high schools. He's calling for stronger recruitment procedures on individuals engaged to work in schools.
Maybe what this brings up is that it has uncovered the challenge that we have in the recruitment in schools. And we need to find ways and means by which it can properly screen individuals who want to take up security things and beef up the security systems in the schools.
Meanwhile, some stakeholders say the circumstances of the case require a strong deterrent response.
If they go through the investigating process and they are found guilty, the law should deal with them as it's supposed to be. We need to deal with them as the law says. Security men and other education workers will not take advantage of our young girls that we are taking to school.
The incident has renewed calls for schools to strengthen safeguarding systems and ensure that students, particularly those with special needs, are protected from abuse by those entrusted with their safety. For WADR, Elik Limauku, Accra.
Still on education, in Liberia, teachers of the Monrovia Consolidated School System are demanding an increment in their salaries, improved working conditions, and the employment of long-serving volunteer teachers. The teachers staged a peaceful protest on Thursday at the MCSS Central Office in Monrovia, threatening to boycott classes beginning September. While holding placards with different inscriptions, the aggrieved instructors complained of persistently engaging with educational authorities regarding their concerns, but nothing has been done to address their demands. WDR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker reports.
The teachers are threatening to boycott classes in September, which could affect the reopening of schools. Horace Nangwe, one of the leaders, says teachers could stay away from classrooms if their demands are not addressed.
School will not open in September until our plights are listened to and resolved. We are the teachers, not teachers in the classroom in September. You will open school, the doors will open without find teachers there. You won't find teachers there, son. We promise you that.
The Monrovia Consolidated School System is Liberia's largest public school network, providing basic and secondary education to thousands of students across the capital. For teachers already on the payroll, the protest is also about what they describe as inadequate salaries and poor living conditions. For Florence Adewale, an MCSS teacher who has worked with the school system since 2001, says teachers are not begging for better pay, but demanding what they believe is their rightful benefit.
We need our salary. They should stop underpaying us. We are doing the work in the classroom. Instead of Trump becoming a teacher in Liberia, we produce governors, we produce engineers, doctors, presidents, and we are being looked down upon.
The warning comes as Liberia prepares for the reopening of schools, raising concerns about the possible impact of the dispute of thousands of students enrolled within the MCSS system. The government previously undertook efforts to verify and integrate qualified volunteer teachers into the national payroll amid wider concerns about the country's reliance on volunteer and community-supported teachers. However, some teachers believe the measures have not been effectively implemented to resolve their employment and salary concerns. For Newslink on WADR, April Parker, Monrovia.
Meanwhile, Liberia's former Vice President Joel Howard Taylor has not been taken to court as expected, with the government citing her constitutional rights and reported health conditions. Madam Howard Taylor became unwell in police custody on Thursday and was taken to a nearby hospital in Monrovia for medical attention. The former vice president faces multiple criminal charges arising from an investigation into a transnational narcotics network. The Ministry of Justice says its decision not to send Taylor to court on Thursday is in accordance with Article 21F of the country's constitution, which provides that a person who is arrested or detained must be formally charged and presented before a court of competent jurisdiction within 48 hours. Her lawyer, Councillor Jabina Jane, confirms that she is in police custody and will be forwarded to a court of legal proceedings. You're still listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal, 94.9 FM, and around the world at wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Senegal's National Assembly ratifies 6 draft resolutions to investigate suspected irregularities in public management. Nigerian President Tinubu orders 5-year security threat assessment plan amid persistent insecurity. Ghana Education Service proves alleged sexual assault of students with special needs, warns against exploitation. Guinea's High Judicial Council removes Supreme Court Advocate General over alleged breaches of professional duties. We also have the guest interview and the sports news. Please stay with us.
Connecting Ghana to West Africa. This is Nadidi Tete in Accra, and you're listening to WADR 94.9 FM, Dakar.
Now we head to Burkina Faso, and the authorities on Thursday received the UN Special Envoy Saleh Wogzedwe, who is on a working visit to the country. She was received in Ouagadougou by Burkina Faso's Foreign Minister Karamako Jean-Marie Traoré. The former Ethiopian president is leading an evaluation mission of the United Nations Regional Office for West Africa and the Sahel, known as UNOWAS. Abdullah Hassan gives the details.
The mission seeks to gather the view of Burkinabe authorities on UN interventions in the country and assess how UNOWAS can better adapt its work to the realities of West Africa and the Sahel. Saleh Wogzedwe says the findings of our assessment will help inform future decisions by the UN Security Council and improve cooperation with Burkina Faso. Burkinabe Foreign Minister Karamako Jean-Marie Traoré welcomes the initiative but called for deeper reforms within the United Nations. He urges UNOWAS to become a stronger instrument of proximity and preventive diplomacy with greater attention to information and assessments coming from actors on the ground. The minister also explains Burkina Faso's position on the security situation in the Sahel and the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. He argues that the priority of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger is currently security and the protection of their populations rather than organizing elections. Traoré further calls on international organizations to recognize what he described as progress achieved by the AES countries and to better understand their sovereign choices. The Burkinabe Foreign Minister wants the United Nations to adapt its approach to the new realities of the region through greater listening, consultation, and dialogue. The visit is part of a broader UN effort
to assess its regional engagement and strengthen cooperation with countries across West Africa and the Sahel.
That was Abdullah Hassan with that report. In Niger's capital, Niamey, plastic bag producers and sellers are racing against time to clear their stock before a ban takes effect in January 2027. Authorities attribute the measure to a harmful impact on the environment and the difficulties associated with their disposal. For traders, the countdown to the ban is now raising concerns about how to sell their remaining stock before new rules come into force. Sankole Janko reports.
Plastic bags remain widely used in Niger, in neighborhood shops, markets, and other commercial spaces. They have been used to carry groceries since their introduction to the country in the 2000s. Azika Dogo is one of the first importers of plastic bags in Niger.
At first, we brought them to package sugar loaves and candies. Then things evolved and people gradually imported more and more. Then we started importing packaging for local Jews. Then the containers arrived and the plastics kept coming, and the war in Côte d'Ivoire made things difficult. During that war, people saw how difficult the process had become, so they started importing from Lomé.
For the authorities, plastic bags have become a real danger to the environment. Their long lifespan before decomposing is a problem for soil fertility and for small and large ruminants that consume them. They are also among the main causes of urban unsanitary conditions in Niger. The city of Niamey then decided to fully implement the 2014 law banning the production, import, sale and use of plastic bags. Importers hope to sell their stock by January 2027, the date the ban comes into effect. Halidou Sarah is a plastic bag importer.
If we suddenly stop everything today, what will we do? The factories continue to produce and the goods enter the country. How can we expect to use all of that in 3 or 6 months? Saying that everything has to stop like that poses a real problem in the name of God.
Meanwhile, a civil society activist says the sale of plastic bags generates billions of CFA francs annually in Niger. However, importers and resellers of plastic bags are calling on the government to engage in dialogue to better manage the issue of plastic bags instead of systematically banning them.
That was a report by Niamey correspondent Yakuba Habibullah and presented by Sankole Janko.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
For our guest interview this afternoon, Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ordered the preparation of a national threat assessment and a 5-year strategic defense operation plan aimed at improving coordination among the country's security agencies and aligning resources with emerging threats. The 11-member committee has 90 days to complete the assessment. To understand what this means for Nigeria's security response, I spoke with Dr. Maji Peters, a security analyst based in Nigeria.
There is no nation on earth that does not every time review processes, structures, and plans around safety, security, and protection of sovereignty. And at every time, if you think there is a gap or there is something that needs to improve, there is a need for you to rework your plan and see what you can do better. So I give a benefit of doubt that obviously the security strategy that has been on ground and all the work that has been put forth around counterterrorism, protection of sovereignty, protection of lives and property, keeping people safe and secured, and the rest of them has not met the expected goal that it was set to achieve. The threat indices and the security indices shows that the insecurity is still high and people still feel very unsafe. So I think it is just a good thing and it is acceptable for our leadership to say we want to make things better.
What are the most pressing security threats the assessment should prioritize, and are Nigeria's security agencies currently equipped to address them?
Yeah, I think right now we still realize that people still feel very unsafe to travel, especially if you're traveling by road. Within the hinterland, a lot of communities, especially hard-to-reach communities, are feeling very threatened. And the issue of abductions, kidnapping for ransom, and all of that, banditry, general criminality, is still very persistent.
How important is better coordination among the defense, intelligence, and security agencies? And could this plan help address existing gaps or duplications?
It's very important for us to have a very strong platform for coordination. Every security agency is supposed to work primarily to increase and beef up safety for citizens and people who live within. And if coordination becomes an issue, then we're going to have duplication, people doing the same thing at the same time with the same people. And of course, leaving some things undone and getting nothing. So I'm sure now there is going to be a framework that ensures that every security agency's work supports each other and lead to the greater safety of the nation.
With the assessment due in 90 days and a 5-year defense plan to follow, what should Nigerians look for to determine whether this will lead to real improvements in national security?
The answer is very simple. A rapid drop in kidnappings and abductions, massive arrests and prosecution of culprits and people who are involved in that. We want to see people going back to the farms and people being able to travel very freely. And this is what you can always get to hear happen within the framework of 6 months.
That was Dr. Maji Peters, a security analyst based in Nigeria. All right, now for some time for some sports news. And FIFA has released the schedule for the 2027 Women's World Cup in Brazil, with the tournament set for June 24th to July 25th across 8 Brazilian cities. The opening match and final will both be played at the iconic Maracanã Stadium in Rio de Janeiro, while 32 teams from the 6 confederations will compete in the tournament. 4 African teams have qualified: Cameroon, Malawi, Algeria, and host Morocco after reaching the semi-finals of the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. South Africa and Ghana will represent Africa at the World Cup playoff tournament. Now in rugby, World Rugby has announced the referees for the 2026 WXV Global Series and WXV Global Series Challenger, with 7 African officials selected. South Africa's Gianna Viljoen and Amy Barrett-Teron, along with Zimbabwe's Precious Pazani, are among the officials appointed for the competition, which runs from September to October across several countries. Pazani will officiate the Challenger's opening match in Hong Kong, while Viljoen will make her test refereeing debut in the second round. Barrett-Teron will miss the series as she continues treatment for breast cancer. That's all for the sports news. And with that, we have come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Maldo Ju for the technical assistance. To interact with us via our social media platforms: X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at WDR English. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is a special interview with the acting ICC prosecutor. Do stay tuned. I am Veronique Njai. Good afternoon.
We thank you for listening to Newslink in Nigeria on Love FM Abuja and Darling FM Owerri. In the Gambia on Hot FM Banjul, Hilltop FM and Veritas Radio in Serekunda. Thank you for listening on Alternative Youth Radio Lofa County, Liberia, Radio Kegaman in Nimba County, and DCN Radio Riverses County. A big thank you to Radio Baft FM in Sierra Leone for listening, and in Ghana we thank Radio Pad in Damango and Royals FM in Wenchi. Thank you all for listening to Newslink.